Is up, internet people? It is the Nerdy News Hour. It's like the news, but for nerds. I'm sitting down with a couple awesome nerds. Let's introduce ourselves and get into the show. First, Anime Dan Thomas. What's going on, bro?
As always, thrilled to be here in the den, and we have such a week to talk about. One of my favorite IPs is coming up. We have a ton of superhero news, so I'm pretty excited to get into it.
Abso-freaking-tutely. Justin, what's going on, man?
Oh, dude, we got some solid gaming news this week. Destiny 2 is a thing that's going to be a thing. I'm super pumped to talk about it. And, oh man, there's just been so many leaks. And there's a trailer coming out. And, wow.
Yes,
Can't wait.
yes.
Can't
So
wait.
there's a lot of things. Look, guys, you see all the topics on the ticker. We got a lot that we're going to be going over. It's Spider-Man heavy show today. Oh, I dressed accordingly.
Perfect.
Justin's got some sick spoilery goodness to talk about when it comes to Destiny 2. And we're going to tackle the Ghost in the Shell, the whole whitewashing issue. We're probably going to argue a lot. This might be the last episode of the show because we're not going to agree. And
We're just going to kill each other by the end of it,
Yeah.
and then
By the
we'll
end of
just be
it-
dead.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be like in Family Guy, where Peter gets on the plane and travels to go fight the chicken or whatever. Like, that's what it's going to be like, and then an epic battle at the end of it. But so let's roll right into our first topic. The first topic is going to be Justice League. Okay, so this Justice League trailer hit on Saturday, and we did a bunch of different things. But I actually just posted a video on the YouTube channel where I kind of go into it, just giving my thoughts or whatnot. But basically, it was an action and humor heavy trailer, and it was showing off new footage for Warner Brothers' Justice League. The spectacle of scenes show a recruiting of Aquaman, The Flash, and Cyborg, who join Wonder Woman and Batman as they prepare for the coming threat that is already there. We got to see parademons, mother boxes, Amazons fighting the army of Darkseid. Man, Commissioner Gordon, Mira, that plus an insane amount of action and some humor from Jason Momoa. But the question remains, did this trailer restore faith in the DC Extended Universe, or is it just simple sleight of hand? Dan, I want to start with you. What did you think of the trailer, and are you more or less excited for Justice League?
I think if there's one thing we all learned after Suicide Squad, it's that you cannot take the trailer as an indication of the quality of the film. You can take it as an indication of the quality of the trailer, for sure, because man, that trailer blew me away. In this Justice League trailer, fantastic! I loved the trailer. I loved the action in it. The explosions were great, and for the most part, I was pumped with these new costume choices. I thought that the characters looked really cool. I was slightly off-put by Cyborg's first appearance. I thought that he looked a little too fake. He didn't seem real to me with all the CG going on. Hopefully, as he interacts with the other characters more in the film, they make it flashy enough where you don't notice that, or
Right.
everything's going to be some pump full of CG that he won't be like an eyesore kind of a deal. But you know, there's definitely red flags. There's definitely things to worry about. DC does not have a good track record at this point. People are saying that they're going to try and inject a lot of color and comedy into this to try and make it more Marvel-esque, to try and play off of that a bit, which we also saw them do in Suicide Squad, which obviously did not pan out, except for that Oscar. So
Right,
we'll
I know,
see
right?
how it goes. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm in a similar boat. Look, you can get my thoughts on the video that I put up on the YouTube, but essentially, it is this thing where they literally deliver this action-packed, brilliant trailer. Like, the trailer on its own merits, yeah, it's fantastic. It really does pump you up for the movie, but it's 2017. We can't separate ourselves from everything we've been hearing behind the scenes, from the bad taste that some of these other movies have put in our mouth. And like you said, Dan, like, the trailer for Suicide Squad was fantastic, and then the movie was movie. And same thing with Batman v Superman. The Batman v Superman trailers are like some of the best trailers I've ever seen. They paint a really cool narrative and really made me in my head canon think of a movie that ended up being way better than the movie we got. Justin, I want to go to you though. Same question. What do you think about the trailer? What do you think is going on with Justice League? Are you more or less pumped up for the movie now that you've seen the trailer?
After the trailer, I have to say my excitement's about the same. I'm gonna go into it, be fairly cautious. Batman v Superman was a movie where you could have probably cut out an hour of it and still would have been all right. And I'm trying to keep my expectations low for Justice League, so I won't be disappointed, I guess is the way that I'm going with it right now. There are a couple things I am really hyped for in Justice League. Jason Momoa's Aquaman looks absolutely incredible, and I really, really am excited to see him in this movie. Despite what a lot of people say, I do actually enjoy the Batfleck, so I'm pumped to see more Batfleck. Other than that, I'm just hoping they can throw in a good storyline and not, do too much. Because, we're already at Dark Side Point, and it's very, very early in the whole timeline of the DC universe. When you look at Marvel's movies, it's been a very slow burn building up to Thanos, who many would say is like the penultimate threat. And to just throw Darkseid at us immediately, that's worrisome for me, thinking that, well, does DC just not plan on having its film universe last that long?
It's interesting. Well, to be fair, I don't know if we'll actually get Darkseid in the movie. I think that he might be kind of alluded to, because Steppenwolf is supposed to be the big bad, right? The army of Darkseid, and Steppenwolf is a general in Darkseid's army. I think he's his uncle, actually. So it's interesting. Look, it's crazy because they're basically just throwing so much at you. The trailer is indicative of that, right? They show us Mira, they show us Gordon. It's like they're trying to show that the universe is fleshed out by shoving it all down our throat, which seems a little weird. Like, it's almost counterintuitive. I really don't know what to expect. Look, all the stuff we've heard behind the scenes is like, man, maybe they are kind of restructuring. The only movie they have on their slate next year is Aquaman. So to your point, like, Aquaman in the trailer, really cool, big focus of it. So is Wonder Woman. So they're at least aware of what they need to promote and what they need to get out there. But the issue is, like, dude, like, you can't get a director for Flash. Like, you know what I mean? You're doing page one rewrites on stuff. There's a lot of problems out there. So at the end of the day, let's do a buy or sell real quick. Buying or selling the trailer. Dan, hit me. What do you think?
Man, I'm gonna sell. I'm just gonna sell the whole thing. It's not gonna be good. I don't think I'm gonna be excited enough to even see it like opening week. I'm probably gonna wait. It's just, this is the barrier to entry that DC has kind of built in my mind with their movies at this point. The one thing that I'm really looking forward to in this movie is to see what they do with the Flash. I think with movie technology these days, there's so much potential for a speedster to have a really cool movie, but they seem to swing and miss at it every time. Days of Future Past had like the one good speedster scene, and besides that, I feel like they're all the same or tacked on. I want to see the Flash do some cool shit in this movie.
Right, me too. Buy or sell, Justin? What do you think? Buying or selling the trailer?
I'm gonna sell the whole thing, just like Dan. Give me Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Oh,
that is the
God.
end of
directly.
No, look, we've got some. Look, to be fair, we got some DC fans watching the show right now. Look, I want to speak specifically to Terry Gomez, my homeboy. Look, it's not. We're not trying to be DC haters, and I know there are a lot of people out there that like DC. Look, I like DC. I like the comics a lot. In fact, I read more DC books right now, comic books, than I do Marvel. That's just how it's
right here, like right now. I love DC.
Blackest Night is a masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece.
So I want to just say that and put that out there. But as far as buy or sell, I'm selling the whole thing as well. And DC, like, you need to do something. You really need to do something to get my faith back in that brand on screen. Because, look, I think Wonder Woman is going to be cool. But I smell sleight of hand on this Justice League trailer. I think it's going to be a mess. And here's the thing, like, just real quick, because we got a lot of topics and I want to get to some other stuff. But the problem with the Warner Brothers vision for their shared universe is Warner Brothers. It is not any of these actors. It is not any of the directors.
Yeah.
It is Warner Brothers. Look, the extended cut of Batman v Superman is a much better movie than what we got in theaters. And that is just so clearly Warner Brothers doing things to shift things around. Look, they immediately started production on Justice League as Batman v Superman was releasing and getting slaughtered by critics and getting slaughtered financially. It didn't even gross $1 billion. And you have the two most recognizable superheroes on the planet. So look, they made a bunch of changes after already starting to shoot. You can see concept art. Like, if you're really careful about this and you go look at the information out there, you can see concept art of a darker Zack Snyder version of Justice League that we are not going to get in theaters this November, period. So what I'm saying is I smell tragedy with Justice League, and I feel like Justice League might end up being the downfall of the DC cinematic shared universe, or whatever you're calling it. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong.
I want you to be wrong too. Warner Brothers just needs to. The reason that Marvel and Star Wars and all that does so well under Disney and all that is Disney knows when to just keep its hands off.
Yes.
They know when to not meddle and
Right,
just
and
let the directors have what they need to do to succeed. And that creative freedom is what gives us good movies.
100%. 100%. Let's move on to the next topic. We could talk about this whole thing for a long time.
We should probably
and-
do a weekly movie review show or something, honestly, because we
Yeah,
tend to go
yeah.
on long about the DC movies.
Yeah, we do. And there's a lot of things like, look, if you follow us on YouTube, I'm being kind of shown as this big DC hater, and I would just call myself a realist, which is just the way that it is. But yeah, there's this whole culture kind of building around the YouTube channel where people are like, this guy's a Marvel fanboy. And to be fair, I kind of am. So let's get into some Marvel
Yeah.
stuff. So we're going to go into Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man time, guys. So on Tuesday, Marvel and Sony revealed the new Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, which was filled with web-slinging goodness. We got looks at the Shocker, Donald Glover, more Tony Stark, and much more Vulture. The trailer revealed a major plot point about Peter losing his tech gifted to him by Iron Man himself. This fact, of course, makes Peter have to face off against villains using only his powers and wits, thus forging him into a better hero. This is all well and good, but a major complaint about the trailer was the fact that it did show so many potential plot points. Many people have ran with this and are in fact saying that they can predict the entire film because of what was shown in the trailer. Now look, as a big-time Spider-Man fanboy, it's hard for me to admit that there was anything but perfection in that trailer. But after I took a step back, yeah, I still couldn't find any issues with it because I'm a huge Spider-Man fanboy. But, Justin, you're probably going to be able to be more objective than I am. What do you think about the trailer, and do you think it gave away the movie?
God, that's where you're wrong because I'm a huge Spider-Man fanboy too, but I'm going to try. I think the Spider-Man trailer did, give away a lot. There were a lot of plot points we got touched on. We got to see, the Vulture's main motivation in the trailer. We got to see, Tony Stark removing Peter's tech from him. We got to see somebody else finding out, who Spider-Man really is. And yes, we did get to see all of that. Do I think the movie is going to be lesser for showing us that stuff? Absolutely not. I love this new Spider-Man. He's an excellent Spider-Man. And I don't think that, just from my personal optimism, all that, I don't think we got shown all of the wonderful moments that we are going to be seeing from this Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming from this trailer. Did we get to see a lot? Yes. But did we get to see everything? No.
That's a good point. Like I said, it's hard for me to separate it. I'd like to believe there's a lot that they're hiding from us. There's a lot of stuff on here, but yeah, it did show a lot. Dan, I know you hate this. I know you hate when movies do this, and you probably can tell us the exact plot of Spider-Man Homecoming now that you've seen the trailer. So, I mean, first, let me just ask, what did you think of the trailer and its function as, like, getting people pumped up for the movie? And also, do you think that it was a big problem with all the stuff that they spoiled?
I thought the trailer, besides that factor, it was a great trailer. I mean, it showed you great web slinging. It showed you some shots of the villains. We had Tony Stark, who's automatic recognition with the Avengers and all that. We had the right elements to get people excited for Homecoming in this trailer, for sure. I just think they could have shown, and this is the incomplete information paradigm. I don't know what the entire movie is. So when I see
True.
this trailer and say, why would you put the most important scenes of the movie in the trailer? Maybe they're not. Maybe it's just like a slight establishing thing, and we're going to see a lot more plot than we think in this movie. But from a trailer analysis, it really looks like Spider-Man is discovered by the Avengers. Tony Stark pimps out his suit. Things go wrong on the boat. We see Vulture destroy the boat. And how awesome of an unexpected scene would that have been for Spider-Man to have everything going well, and then just boom, Vulture explodes this boat in half. But now we all know what's going to happen as soon as we see the boat. First shot with the boat, we're going to say, I know where this is going to end up, split in half and held together by webs. That's going to be the falling action of the first act of this movie. Done. Already know it.
Yep.
So that's going to happen. Spider-Man's going to lose his suit. He's going to get kind of rebuffed from the Avengers. Then we're going to have the second action rise up, where he puts on the scrub suit. We saw that in the transition, that picture. I'm really excited to see him do stuff in that costume. He's going to put that on. There's hijinks with the plane. We got to see him fly the plane by pulling the little flap with the web. Then after he does that, will the Avengers take him back? Yes. They're going to be like, hey, great job, Spider-Man. Here's your cool Avengers suit. We'll see you in the sequel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. And please, guys, if you're just checking in live or you're watching the show, hit us up in the comment section. I'm trying to man the comment section while doing the show or whatever. So please hit us up with some comments. Love to directly interact with you. That's kind of cool stuff. We like that kind of stuff. But you said something really cool there, Dan, where you're like, well, here's the problem. We don't know what is in the movie. So what if with everything we've seen in the trailer is like literally 30% of the movie, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't get to see? I mean, then there's not really an issue here. I also think that it's important to note that we're living, like what Dave Chappelle says, we're living in the age of spin. And I found it really crazy that when I did research on the trailer and I was like looking at stuff online on Twitter and different websites, it was a thing. Like, people marketed their article on the fact that this trailer gave away the entire movie. So how much of this is valid and how much of it is, well, we can get a flashy headline or we can be clickbaity by saying this and that or whatever. So it's weird, right? I try to separate reality from what the internet is showing me. So I really don't know. Like I said, huge fanboy here, huge Spider-Man fanboy. I don't think it's going to retract from the movie at all. Like you said, Justin, I think we're good to go, man. There's so much good Spider-Man flavor in that trailer. And I did a breakdown of it. And just to admit something here, I was totally wrong because I said Mary Jane's in the trailer. And apparently that's Marissa Tomei in the glasses and the striped shirt. And I'll just say this, man, if that really is Aunt May, this is the hottest Aunt May we've ever had. Like, she's a knockout. Because I thought that was like a high school chick. I was like, that is Mary Jane, and wow, she looks good. And yeah, apparently that's not, and it's Marissa Tomei. But you can check out the breakdown video I did on the YouTube about it. Let's do this. This will be a fun little thing. What do you think percentage-wise we saw of the movie in the trailer? How much of the stuff from the movie is in that trailer percentage-wise? Dan, hit me.
I'm going to say we got a good 45%. I think we got the overall plot structure. We know when things are going to happen and how. And now we just have to fill in the how Spider-Man deals with getting accepted and rejected by the Avengers and how he deals with the boat getting smashed up. But we know what he's going to deal with already.
Interesting. I'm sorry. I was like looking at this thing. I want to address a question by Alex Carfelt in a second here. But percentage of the movie that's seen in the trailer. Justin, hit me.
I'm going to go with around what Dan said. I'm going to say about 40%. I do got a general outline in it, but I don't really think we've seen everything that we're going to see from that movie because, let's be honest, most of the charm and most of the draw from a Spider-Man movie is seeing Peter Parker and Spider-Man with, like, his little quips, acting like a little jerk and all that good stuff. And that's going to be the main draw of the movie and what's going to make people really, really enjoy this Peter Parker. So, I mean, unless they throw a trailer at me with, every single Spider-Man quip we're going to see in this movie, I don't really think it's going to be a big deal, and I don't really think it's going to be potential wasted.
What's your percentage, Josh?
Here's what I'm going to say, and this is going to be interesting, because I think 30% of the movie is in the trailers, because like you said, Justin, a lot of that slice of life, the John Hughes flavor, him in high school, that's not really in this trailer. I mean, it might have been in other ones, but I think 30% of the movie is in there. But here's the problem, and this is what I think will upset people. If I'm being honest, probably 60% of the action is in that trailer. Maybe not shot for shot, but scene setup contextually, 60% of the action is probably in that trailer, which kind of sucks. But here's a question that Alex had that I think is kind of cool. Do you think they're going to play off of the whole young-old dynamic with the Vulture? And I think what he means here is Spider-Man's super young and the Vulture's super old. So do you think that dynamic is going to play into it? Do you think that's going to add any flavor? Justin, let's start with you. What do you think about that?
I see a dynamic forming here, but not really between Spidey and the Vulture, but between Iron Man and the Vulture. Because they really seem to be marketing the Vulture as this sort of evil Iron Man dealio. He mentions Stark by name, right, and he's really got a grudge against Tony. So I think we are going to see a lot of great moments playing off between Tony Stark and between the Vulture. And I mean, if we get some sweet address on Stark monopolizing all this future tech and other people getting disenfranchised, I think that would be something really interesting, like a nice little extra layer to add to, you know, Spider-Man swinging around and all that good stuff.
Interesting question. Apparently that's not what Alex meant, but sorry, Alex, we're rolling with this point. Dan, what do you think about young Spider-Man, old Vulture, that dynamic?
I think that could be an interesting layer to set up, and they could go in a couple of different kind of like nodes with it. One node could be his high school life, and they could put a lot of nobody understands Peter Parker, or wow, the system isn't benefiting millennials kind of a thing. And then he has to fight this old guy as the Vulture who's sick and tired of the new way people are doing things, and that could be a layer. If they are going for that kind of like age versus age issue, the new generation versus the establishment kind of a thing, I think then they kind of missed slightly by having Aunt May appear so young. They really could have had her as like the voice of reason from the older generation talking to Spider-Man, and that's where he could see, okay, just because they're older isn't, you know what I mean? It could be like a bringing more depth to that particular issue. I don't think they're going to go so heavy with it. I think studios at this point are a little wary about going ham into issues of like social issues. I don't think that he wants to jam too much of that into Spider-Man. It's possible, though. It's possible. I didn't get too much of that vibe from the trailer, though.
Right. But, apparently, what he meant... I'm sorry, go ahead, Justin.
I will say, yeah, I was going to address, like, Alex's how Vulture saps life to get his youth back. Prime for an Infinity Stone, just saying.
Yeah,
prime
true.
Thing for an Infinity Stone.
Could be cool.
And we can get more of that tie-in and lead-in to... I'm just saying. Could be more of a tie-in to Thanos.
Yeah,
it's an idea. It's an idea.
Yeah, I don't think they're really going to touch that. It's a little too comic booky for them, but it's a cool idea. But let's roll right into the next topic, which is still Spider-Man, okay? So we're still going Spider-Man. Spider-Man heavy portion of the show. And unfortunately, this is not good news. This is potentially far worse than the trailer giving away the movie. And there basically is a lot of buzz building around a potential exit for Sony Spider-Man after the current contract with Marvel for shared rights. This all started when an announcement of the possible R-rated Venom movie made its way onto the internet. Now, strangely, there was no mention of how this would tie into the MCU, which really kind of weirded a lot of people out, including myself. Then came the rumors of the Silver Sable and Black Cat movie, which would also not tie into the MCU. And then all of our fears really got validated when Amy Pascal, who is the former president of Sony Film Studios, gave an interview talking about the relationship between Sony, Marvel, and Disney. I want to read a quote that she said in that article, and it's not very cool. She literally says, "One of the things that I think is so amazing about this experience is that you don't have studios deciding to work together to make a film very often. In fact, it may never happen again after we do the sequel." So she's essentially saying that after this contract is up, which, by the way, she still works at Sony. She was, just to give you some info, guys, Amy Pascal was one of the people that during the Sony hacks got fired for some comments that she made and different things like that. Now, she now is a part of the deal going on with Marvel and Sony, and that's like her baby. Right before she exited Sony, she put that together, and now she's back as a producer when it comes to Spider-Man at Sony. So when she says stuff like that, like it really freaking worries me, man. I mean, if you like the Spider-Man and Marvel arrangement, this is bad news. So I want to start with Justin, actually. Justin, what do you think this means? And is it possible that this is just posturing for a better cut on the next contract? Or does Sony really think it can make this Spider-Man thing work without Marvel?
I think at this point, if Sony thinks it can make Spidey work without Marvel, they are absolutely fooling themselves. The new Spidey has received such a positive reception from fans that to do anything otherwise off of that would be absolute suicide. I don't really think we're going to be seeing any sort of like extra Spidey universes, I guess just specifically owned by Sony, not tying into the larger Marvelverse. There have been rumors of a like horror Venom movie coming out, and I would love to see a horror Venom movie, absolutely. But I would love to see that still tied into the MCU. It's a bad move if Sony decides to just make their own Spider-Man universe a la what the X-Men was. We had that time, but the MCU has become so ingrained in people's like minds and it's so ingrained in what people want to see that time has passed.
Yeah, it's man. I obviously don't want this arrangement to end. I like this version of Spider-Man. Also, very important, kind of cool little note is that one of the reasons they were able to introduce Spider-Man without retelling the origin story with Uncle Ben and everything is a contractual thing. Like in the licensing agreement that Sony has with Marvel, if they are making a Spider-Man movie without Marvel, they are required to do the origin. Like they have to do the origin. It's part of the deal. So that was one of the reasons that they were able to get away with that. And I thought that was really cool. It's like a pre-established thing. And he doesn't even refer to Uncle Ben in Civil War, which is like, well, that's good. Like he kind of ominously does or whatever, but he doesn't directly say it. And I thought that was brilliant. Plus, I have all the faith in the world in Kevin Feige and his team. They've given me a Spider-Man with a Queen's accent, which is super big. I can't explain how big that is. And also, he's a young man in high school. It's not like a 30-year-old Tobey Maguire acting like a high school kid. Like it actually makes sense. So if this actually happens, I will freak out. I will literally freak out. But I don't know if it is going to happen. My gut tells me no. My gut tells me this is just chips on the table, corporate, whatever. Dan, what do you think, man? Should I be panicking at this point? Do you think it's going to happen?
Oh, dude, your gut is totally wrong, unfortunately. To me, here's what happened. We have Sony trying to chug along, do their own thing with the X-Men without incorporating it into Marvel's cinematic universe. And for better or worse, they kind of make out on that deal. And then they just hit a big capstone with Logan, which rocked and did very well and was rated R and was a superhero movie. And now what do we hear rumors of? Sony making a bunch of R-rated superhero movies not incorporating the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So they're taking the advice of, people watch Logan. People bought that. It was cool. It's cool to see R-rated superhero movies. Didn't we just now in our conversation establish how light and quippy and fun high school student that Spider-Man is and how we want to see him do that? And I really don't think that making a hyper gritty, rain-soaked black and gray Spider-Man origin story again is going to do it. And so even if you want to have your own R-rated Venom movie, that would be sick. And they could have it just be Venom going out and doing his own thing. Okay, fine. But then, a Black Cat movie, that could be okay too. But is the Sony Spider-Man going to make cameos in that? Is he going to be a main character at the end of the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel? Is he going to get all right, I'm out of here. Bye, Avengers. Sorry, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I don't know how they would set it up after doing such a big crossover project. But frankly, it doesn't seem promising. It does seem like they're going to try and do their own thing based on the success of Logan. And actually, I have, real quick, I'm going to bring up an image. We actually have, I think this is an exclusive image from Sony's work on the new Spider-Man universe. This is breaking news. I brought it up on the screen.
Oh snap! Is that the Venom picture?
No, we showed that earlier. This is brand new. I don't think anyone's seen this before. This is I don't know if this is some concept art, but it's out there. So that's what we got. We'll have to see where that goes.
Beautiful. Yeah, that definitely looks like a train wreck to me. Yeah, no, fair. Well done, sir. Well done. Yeah, no, look. It's such a studio thing. Look, one of the things, if you look at that interview, go check out the interview that Amy Pascal did where she's talking about the Spider-Man relationship. Alex called you a troll. Go check out that interview because it's very telling. Look, the sentiment she is saying or portraying was, this was really cool. We all kind of put our egos aside and did what was best for the character in the universe. And a lot of that's lip service or whatever, but it's true at the same time. Like, they worked that out because it was in the best interest of the character, and it just works. So, like, there's a lot of red tape because of the contracts, because of the lawyer arguments, and all these different things. Like, here's an example. Willem de Malfoy. Wait, what's the guy's name? De Malfoy that plays Kingpin? I believe it's D'Onofrio.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but regardless, the guy that plays Kingpin, who's amazing, has been asked a lot by fans, would you show up in a Spider-Man movie? Because Kingpin is a huge Spider-Man villain. And he's like, absolutely, make it happen. When people were asking Hugh Jackman on whether or not he would come back into the fray as Wolverine, he said, I would only come back if they let me play with the Avengers, because he's a fan. He understands the source material and stuff. He's been playing the character for 20 years. Look, they want to make like, what I'm saying is the actors want to do this to please the fans. They know how to please the fans, but when money gets involved and the studios are like, well, actually, you can't refer to him as that name because you will have to pay us 20 cents for every view or whatever. Like, the bureaucracies that are out there that are stopping us from getting dope shit, they need to stop, and it's really frustrating. So if Sony backpedals on this whole Marvel deal, like, I'm not going to say that I'll, like, rage out and boycott Sony, but I just think that it'll cause a big rift in the fandom. One of the things, too, is that Tom Holland isn't contractually obligated. He signed a Marvel movie contract, which is weird. So he's not actually contractually obligated. Like, if after this contract, if Sony wants to do all this, he doesn't have to be in it. He doesn't have to be in that Venom movie. Straight up. He doesn't have to be. So it's going to be this weird power play between all these different egos and personalities. And what I think is the worst part is that the fans are going to be the ones to suffer. All these other people will make money. The things will go on. And so I just think that it'll hurt fans. So I don't know. Let's do over under. I'm gonna throw out a number, 63%. The chances that Spider-Man will exit the MCU after its current contract, over under 63%. Justin, what do you think?
I'm gonna say under 63%.
That
just completely
makes me feel better.
Yeah, just completely based on how absolutely successful Spider-Man is within the MCU. I know a lot of people, I actually really like Andrew Garfield in The Amazing Spider-Man. I think Andrew Garfield is an incredible actor, seen him in a ton of movies, but people are tired of a Spidey that's not in an MCU.
Yeah.
And I really think if Sony goes in and looks at this critically and sees what the fans want, what the fans are going to be willing to pay money for, they're going to realize that Spidey exiting the MCU is just going to end poorly.
Yeah, gotcha. Over under 63%. Dan.
I'm over. I think they're gonna do it, and I am almost cooking up a little speculation in my business brain here, where maybe this is a Marvel power play, where maybe Marvel signed up for this Homecoming contract and is like, we're gonna crank out the best Marvel Cinematic movie we've made in a while, and then we're gonna watch Sony crash and burn trying to capture our success doing their own Spider-Man thing. To the point where, who knows, maybe Marvel someday will be able to finally just buy up those Spider-Man rights again and just bring him home for good.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully.
Spider-Man Homecoming for real,
Yeah,
too.
right.
The
For
reckoning.
real too, right? Yeah, the reckoning again. No, look, it would be dope. Look, I'm under obviously, but that's because I'll freak out and cry if it happens. It just can't. It just can't happen. Don't do it. Like, look, the Sony deal with Spider-Man, that moment in Civil War, like all of that will be tarnished. You know what I mean? If Sony's like, well, we're gonna go try to do this on our own, like I'll just freak out. Unless it's dope. Look, dopeness is the cure-all.
Yeah, they
So-
make a super epic Venom movie. I don't care, if it's a
Yeah.
good film and it's got
Yeah.
Venom, I'm not gonna be like, "Where's Iron Man?"
I know. That's true. That's
It's cool
true. Fair
Venom.
point. Fair point. So let's roll into our next topic now, real quick, before we get into the next topic. Guys, if you're watching us live, you got some questions, chime in. Hit us up in the comments
Talk
on this
to me.
video. Well, talk to us. We need social validation. So seriously, though, we'll answer your questions. And you're going to want to stay tuned because we're going to argue about whitewashing in Ghost in the Shell at the end of the show. And I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So let's get into the next topic, which, of course, is Destiny 2. Okay? We're basically Destiny 2, the sequel to the highly acclaimed, highly hated by me original Destiny, which is dropping a trailer later today. It dropped a teaser trailer earlier, which I have to admit, which was pretty cool, even though I'm a big Destiny hater. Now, Justin and I will likely be doing a live stream reaction on the YouTube channel after the trailer drops today. But for my part, we're going to go over right now our expectations for the trailer and our expectations for the game overall. Here's the thing, guys. Let's just be totally real. We all had different experiences with Destiny. I, for one, played vanilla. I was really let down, and I left the game completely after seeing how they structured the DLC to give me the game that they originally promised at a cost. I was not into that. Now, a second game promises to be a big update and possibly closer to the original product that was promised by Bungie and Activision. Justin, I know you ended up loving the game, so I want to start with you. What do you think of the sequel? And I mean, what are your expectations for the trailer and the game?
Well, first off, I want to address that I was not burned like you were. I didn't start playing Destiny until The Taken King came out.
Right.
So I got the full, what was promised Destiny experience, and I absolutely love Destiny. I consider it, God, one of the best first-person shooters this console generation in a long time. I honestly probably like it more than Halo 2, and Halo 2 is up there. Halo 2 is up there. I'm very, very, very excited for Destiny, and I have leaks. Do you want me to go over the leaks? Because the leaks have just added to my excitement.
Yeah, let's do it. Just go ahead, drop that spoilery stuff.
All right.
We got tons of leaks for Destiny 2. Just so you know, there is an outline of the plot here, people. So yeah, spoilers. Stuff's going down in Destiny 2. So we did see that, teaser trailer that launched before, where it's got, Cade 6 drinking in a bar as a city completely and utterly falls around him. That is actually the last city. I have a plot synopsis here for you. The last city on Earth has fallen before an overwhelming invasive force under Gaul, the towering commander of the Red Legion. Guardians are running out of power, and the few survivors have left. You will venture in a mysterious, uncharted worlds from the solar system to discover devastating weapons and combat abilities. In order to defeat the Red Legion and face Gaul, you will need to gather the surviving heroes from the city and fight back together to claim your home. So we're going to be getting this whole, last city fallen sort of exile deal, and that's going to be a very interesting plot thread. We actually did get some sort of hints when they did the Iron Banner over in the Rise of Iron expansion, because we did have one of those Guardians who came from outside of the galaxy as an NPC that gave us all of our rewards. So we got that sort of little interesting tidbit and leak in that. Also, tons of other leaks I got here. The one that will probably get people most excited, Destiny 2 will be on PC.
Yeah, big deal.
It will be on PC. They are still going to have that exclusivity deal with Sony, where Sony's going to be getting certain content and certain DLCs first and foremost. But Destiny 2 will be on PC. So if you can wait like an extra week for DLC and all that, that's fine. You should be good. You will be able to play on PC. We have also the leaks for the collectors and limited editions. The collector's edition will include the game, expansions 1 and 2, including quests, co-op activities, multiplayer content, and tons of armor and gear. So there are going to be 2 expansions for Destiny 2. That has been confirmed.
Sure.
We are getting a legendary sword. We are getting a legendary emote. We are getting the emblem of the Cabal Empire. You might remember them as the like big hulking green bad guys you fought in Destiny 1.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a pretty big focus. We're getting a physical like frontier bag. So there's going to be a messenger bag that comes with it with a 15-inch tablet pocket. A frontier kit including a USB charger with solar panel. So that's pretty out there. We're getting a paracord, a solar rug, a limited edition steelbook, and a collector's edition Cabal-themed premium box, including a notebook, a map, and collectibles such as postcards and pawns from the Empire. But we don't know what that means.
I want to talk about this. So you just said something very interesting there. So you said a little while ago that there's actually going to be a story in the next game.
I do.
So that's pretty cool because here, let me get on my rant. Let me get on my soapbox for just a second about Destiny 1. I am a huge Destiny hater. Literally hate it. It was the most heartbreaking thing that I've ever personally experienced in gaming. Let me explain why. Real quick. So I'm a huge Halo fan. I love Bungie as a studio. Here's one of the things that made me really like Bungie. Bungie was putting stuff on a console game that had never been seen before, and they did it all to make the experience really great for fans. So split screen, multiplayer in the second game online, the way their matchmaking was set up, all sorts of really cool things that PC gamers were really used to. They've been doing it for a while, but they're on console now, really made it accessible to mass audiences. They were beefing with Microsoft from a very early time because Microsoft kept trying to get them to slim down the features. Like if you look at the Halo games as they go along, there's no 4-person split screen. They take away split screen completely eventually under the 314 Studios now. So essentially, here's the thing. That studio, which earned a lot of respect from me as a fan because of what they were doing, that companies didn't want them to do, but giving good play experience, that company leaves the IP I love, Halo, gives it completely to Microsoft, and then announces a $10 million development deal with Activision. They promised a 10-year-long gaming experience in a dynamic, changing world where you would have a character that carries over through 10 years of games with, additions and upgrades and different things like that. But it was supposed to be this revolutionary idea when it comes to gaming. And essentially, vanilla Destiny is not only none of that, but it had zero story. And the reason it had zero story is because Activision, wanting to pump the game out really quickly, actually ended up firing a guy who was writing an insane amount of story and lore for the game. And he basically took all of his stuff and told them they couldn't use it. So that is why Destiny, originally, vanilla, had no story whatsoever and it had no depth as a game at all. Now, what you're saying when you're talking about, the things that they're promising in 2 is that we're going to change that. We're going to get back to that original vision. Is that the case? Like, how much of this information is going to get someone like me, who's a total hater, to maybe buy back into Destiny as a franchise?
Well, first and foremost, I would recommend that you actually go back and play the Taken King and Rise of Iron, because Taken King and Rise of Iron had some pretty good story. Rise of Iron, pretty good. Taken King, excellent. Lovely story. Love the whole, implications and fights in that. And going into your belief about, them promising like 10 years worth of games with carrying over your character, you will be able to carry over your character to Destiny 2.
Not exactly.
Well, let me tell you what's going to go on here. So if you've reached level 20 and completed the mission The Black Garden, which was the final mission in vanilla Destiny, you will be able to bring over your character's class, race, gender, face, hair, and markings. So you will be able to bring over your physical character as a person, and they will likely reference your character and the things you've done in the new game. But for balance's sake, you will not carry over powers, possessions, any of the microtransaction shop items at all.
Right.
So none of that stuff will come with you.
Okay. And my understanding of this, and Dan, I want to get your opinions here too. My understanding is the reason you're not carrying over items and everything is because the combat is more or less being adjusted rather dramatically, maybe, and they need to kind of refigure out a lot of stuff. So bringing in these weapons into the new system would cause problems, perhaps for balancing and different things like that. But Dan, did you play Destiny? What are you thinking about the trailer for the new game, and are you excited about the prospect of the Destiny sequel?
Well, I did not play Destiny. I don't really console game, I'm a PC guy, so I'm pretty excited for 2 being on PC. That was some awesome news. Thanks, Justin. One thing I did like about Destiny is how cool it looked. Like, I've legitimately, for this game I've never played, I've watched YouTube videos of people, like, fighting a boss. And then there's some great, like, content creation where people did, like, a whole boy band dance routine with, like, the laser guns and, like, the grenades and stuff. And just the visual imagery of Destiny is awesome. It's really cool. And the guns and weapons are, like, pretty innovative and unique. And that's really what I look for in a gun shooting game. Like, I wouldn't want to play, like, a Call of Duty or something where it's, like, real guns from the real world. I want to play things with, like, crazy plasma drives. So that looks like what we're going to get. As somebody with no investment in the first one, this looks like a pretty cool sci-fi shooter game.
Yeah. So are you pumped now because it's going to be on PC and all that? So
yeah, I mean, it's, for a co-op shooter to really get my attention, it has to pull me away from Overwatch at the moment. And I guess the co-op story part of this would be the main differentiator for me. So if it looks like the one-player version of this game is going to be really cool, or that the PvE aspect of this game looks really cool, that's going to be what makes me buy it.
Let me just ask you this, Dan. Is there a salt shaker on me because I'm so salty?
You were, yeah, and then at the end of this section, we can take it away or move it over to Justin based on how opinions go.
Right.
We do have, there was a lot of excellent PvE content in Destiny, Dan. It's sort of structured like an MMO. You had, like, big endgame raids with, like, huge bosses with all kinds of different mechanics that you would, go in and fight to try and get more loot, get more light, basically just to make your character stronger. So it does have that MMO aspect in it. But also one thing Destiny did that I really wish a lot of other MMOs did was this sort of sideways progression that Destiny had. Usually a lot of MMOs are like, okay, you want the best gear? You need to do this raid. And this is the thing you have to do. And this is the only way to get your character stronger and all that. But the way Destiny structures its content is it blends the PvP, the Crucible aspect, and the world adventuring aspect into this progression. So you can be like, okay, so I need to get some better guns to go ahead and get my light level up and be stronger. I think I'm going to go ahead and run this raid right now. Or I don't really feel like running raids today. I'm going to go hop in Crucible and get myself a sweet gun from doing a bunch of PvP today. Or, oh man, it's a PvP event, so I'm going to do that instead. Or it's like, I don't want to do either of those things, but I know there's a bunch of collectibles in the world that I can go find. So I'm going to go find those collectibles in order to get more gear and level myself up that way. So there's a lot of other ways to reach the same singular point. And that is what really kept me interested in Destiny for the long haul.
That sounds really good. Cool. The monotonous grind of MMOs always burns me out. So having different options to advance at any given time is the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, it sounds good. Look, I as a person that was obviously really disappointed in the first game, it's gonna take a lot to get me excited about this sequel, but it seems like from everything I've researched, they are doing the right things. Like, it seems like there's going to be deeper planetary exploration. There's going to be more depth to the game. I mean, one of the really things that bugged me about the game was at the very same time that Destiny was launching, there was this absolutely free game called Warframe, which Warframe has its issues for sure, but depth is not one of them. Like, the game is incredibly deep, and there was just so much more going on in this absolutely free game that ended up delivering on a lot of things that Destiny promised that did not deliver on. So I was like bugged out by that, and because it's like the popular thing and it's Bungie and it's Activision or whatever, more people played it, and they were able to suck a lot of money out of people with continually releasing the content which should have been in that original game and then charging people for it. So I'm not a big fan of that. But I am excited for the trailer. I'm going to give it a shot. Like I said, guys, Justin and I are going to do a live stream, probably on YouTube, after the trailer hits. We're going to talk about it, probably argue more because I'm such a hater and he's a fan. So that'll be kind of cool. But I do want to get to our last topic of the day. So here we go, guys. It's going to be crazy. Ghost in the Shell. Now, honestly, just even saying Ghost in the Shell should like blow up the internet at this point, because there's a lot of controversy surrounding this movie, as I'm sure you are aware of. The classic manga and anime about a futuristic society in which a cyborg woman investigates the hacking of robots and corporate secrets. That's what the movie is. The source material investigates the human condition, the ever-reaching need for mankind to advance in technology, and other deep questions. However, whether or not the Hollywood take on these ideas is successful seems to be overshadowed by the whitewashing of the cast, mainly the lead character of, I'm terrible at pronouncing Japanese names, but Motoko Kusanagi, I believe.
Kusanagi, yep.
Kusanagi, who is, of course, played by Scarlett Johansson. Despite the original director of the anime giving his blessing to this casting, explaining that the character is a cyborg with no real body, critics seem to be panning the film because of its Caucasian cast. Many fans also seem to have a big problem with this casting, with a big internet effort to boycott the movie all over the place. Justin, are you seeing Ghost in the Shell? And do you think that this is whitewashing? Are you in the whitewashing camp?
I am going to see Ghost in the Shell. I've actually been really, really excited from the trailers. You can see a lot of screenshots next to each other, and it really looks like they're trying to stay true to, the central focus of the film. Do I think it's whitewashing? A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like, you have this character named Motoko Kusanagi, which is clearly, a Japanese woman, and you could have gotten so many actresses to play this character. One person I would really have liked to see as Motoko Kusanagi would have been Chiaki Kuriyama, who you would know as Gogo Yubari from the Kill Bill movies.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I would have really loved to see her bring up a role as Kusanagi. That would have been absolutely awesome. There's so many different actresses we could pick from, and to go ahead and just pick ScarJo seems kind of like them just trying to jump off of the success of the MCU with Black Widow. Like, let's take, this, super spy who's all about, investigating espionage in other countries and all that, and let's make her a cyborg super spy that's all about investigating espionage. So I really don't see any other reason to do it other than that. And, I mean, we can look at all kinds of other different successful movies like Tarantino films and looking at Star Wars and stuff like that, and I feel like if you have enough faith in the writing of your film and your IP and all that, you don't need to just shoehorn in a popular actress to try and get people to see your movie. Because if the movie is good, people will see your movie.
Right. Now, so there's some really interesting, there's good things that I agree with you on, and then there's some stuff that I disagree with you on. So first of all, your overall answer is that it's kind of whitewashing. So I can get behind that. It's kind of whitewashing. But I disagree on what you said, the last thing you said, where if your movie's good, people will see it. I just think that's just not true. Like, if you look at some of the most critically acclaimed movies that were released last year, even this year and the year before, they just don't get seen, man. They just really don't. Like, everything is all about pop. Everything's like, it's got to be trending and all these crazy things, like The Nice Guys, which is an incredible movie, Shane Black movie. Nobody saw that movie. And it's got a good cast. It's a good movie, and nobody sees it. There's all sorts of examples of really good movies out there that don't make big numbers. So this is a blockbuster. They're using nostalgia, right? They're playing off of this whole nostalgia thing we talk about all the time. It's a Hollywood movie. So the Hollywood formula is that you need a bankable actor. You need an A-lister to basically make that movie work. Scarlett Johansson is one of the only actresses on the planet that can be bankable as a star of her own film. Like Lucy's a good example, even though that movie is kind of polarizing in the community. People like it, people don't like it. It made a lot of money. It was a success in that regard, and she's a female actor. She's an actress. So that in of itself is kind of like a big deal. So if you're a Hollywood studio and you're making a movie like this, it does make sense to have a bankable actor or actress in your movie. That's part of the formula. I do think it's kind of an aging formula, so I have a lot of mixed feelings about it because I think there are other things that can bring that in. But here's like the bottom line for me, is that I think that we're on this moral slippery slope, and I think we live in this age where people want to get on their soapbox and, so to speak, show how not racist or how basically educated and liberal, but not liberal. Like they want to label themselves as correct, and they want to take this stand and basically show everybody on the internet and everyone around them how good of a person they are because they shit on this thing that they basically think is morally wrong. And this character is a cyborg. Her body is completely fake. And I want to bring it into this other movie that was based on Japanese stuff that had a white guy in the movie. And this is a weird example, but Dragon Ball Evolution. Okay? Dragon Ball Evolution. Goku is a white guy in that movie. Now, here's the thing. That inherently isn't a problem. And here's why. Goku is an alien. He is an alien. He doesn't have to look like us at all, but he could look like a white guy. He could also look like an Asian guy. Here's the thing. It's 2017. We have to be able to understand that things in the source material, like a Japanese created story, is going to have Japanese characters. It's the same thing like this. There's a bunch of white dudes in America in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that are creating comic book characters, and a lot of them are white. So here's what's interesting. So when you take a white character like Heimdall, who's a Viking, we're always thought of them as being, white just because Vikings were majority Caucasian, and then you make him black in the movie, I have zero problem with that. I have zero problem with that because he's not of this world. So what he looks like, it doesn't really matter. It's all about context. So in the movie, does he make sense as Heimdall? Absolutely. I have zero problem with that. For you to be mad that he's not white is like weird because you should be able to understand that the only reason he was white is because a bunch of white people made him. Same thing in Ghost in the Shell. So you have a lot of people from Asian culture that are creating this thing. The name's Asian. Why? Because the people that created the character are Asian. But the concept, the idea in the story is not Asian. It's human. So I don't agree with this whole crapping on this movie because they cast a white character. That's just my take. I don't want to get too ranty about it because I could go on for a long time. But Dan, what do you think of this whole issue? Are you going to see the film? Do you think this is whitewashing?
I just want to, before Dan says anything, let you know that Dan is the #1 Ghost in the Shell fan, like, period.
In our circle, I definitely am. I love Ghost in the Shell in all of its formats, and I try and watch at least one piece of it every year. If that's not rewatching Standalone Complex, the anime, I'll go back and rewatch the 1995 movie. If you haven't seen it, people, by the way, the first adaptation of the manga of Ghost in the Shell was a 1995 movie just called Ghost in the Shell.
Fantastic.
Absolutely amazing. If you like cyberpunk, if you like humanity and dealing with those issues, it's just glorious. It's a wonderful film. The anime Ghost in the Shell was great. And man, did I just want to get on this microphone and ramble about how cool Ghost in the Shell was and give you all kinds of fun details about it? Yes, but now I can't because we have to deal with these social issues, which are very, very important. So, let's get to that. Is this whitewashing? Yes, it's definitely whitewashing. The character, Motoko Kusanagi, lives in Japan. She was a Japanese woman who is in a terrible accident and has to have her body recreated as a cyborg. And she is kind of a pioneer, not the first, but this is like kind of an early version of this operation to go full cyborg. So there's not everyone is full cyborg, but it's becoming more and more common as we go on. So the idea that when she had her cyborg body built in Japan for her, they built her a white person's body seems odd. And there would have been some mention in the source material about, hey, Motoko, why did you change your race? Why did you give up your Japanese heritage when you took on the cyborg body? And in the source material, she goes into a lot of issues that she has to deal with having a cyborg body, and that's never one of them. So, again, going back to what you said in the context, really, unless you're really reaching at straws, I feel like the context of this movie is Motoko and her coworkers are Japanese. And she's not particularly Asian looking or Japanese looking in the anime, but you have to go through that every time we have one of these anime adaptations. The animation style, Japanese animation style, has people look more Caucasian. They don't draw everyone Japanese looking. That's just not how they do it. So, yes, these are Japanese characters. Yes, Motoko Kusanagi, the major, is a Japanese woman. And it is reasonable, very reasonable, to assume that she had a Japanese-looking cyborg body when they rebuilt her. So, yes, I think it is whitewashing to change her into a Caucasian person, who they're going to explain away that she is Japanese, she just looks this way because of the cyborg body. Not the best move. I agree with Justin, they could have gotten a Japanese or an Asian actress to do this role, and the bankability would come from this IP that they're rebooting. It's Ghost in the Shell. This has a lot of name to it. It has a lot of fans. And it's not like this is a really old thing that they're rebooting now for the first time. I mean, if you go to Netflix right now, they rehashed Ghost in the Shell into a 3-movie series called Ghost in the Shell Arise, which is also fantastic. So if you don't want to go through the huge backlog of Git's material to watch this movie, hit Netflix up tonight, and just watch the first one of those 3 and see if you like it. You'll meet all the key characters, you'll see the technology. It's awesome. So this is whitewashing. The director, or the creator of the IP, gave their blessing. And that's kind of the second counterpoint you'll hear is, one, there's context. 2, they gave their blessing to whitewash this movie. So? That's not okay. If the director was like, oh yeah, make him racist as fuck, and then we had a super racist character in this movie who was just spouting all kinds of hate speech and whatnot, that wouldn't be okay. You wouldn't be allowed to do that and have no repercussions just because someone said, no, I said that's okay.
Sure.
At the same time...
That's a totally fair point. That's a totally fair point.
Yeah. And so this is an issue. Whitewashing in movies, in American media, is a huge issue. And whitewashing in Japanese movies isn't so much of an issue, which is why you can see how a Japanese person would so quickly say, this isn't a problem, go ahead, you're fine. This is a problem in America, where Asian Americans are often overlooked in media and things like that. I'm going to kind of draw a quick parallel. I know I'm rambling on, but I'm Anime Dan, and this is Ghost in the Shell. So I'm going to draw a quick parallel to Iron Fist, which is a topic we've been covering quite a bit on the Den.
Yes, I'm glad you
Iron
did this.
Fist has caught a lot of flack for...
white savior.
Not exactly whitewashing, but for having a white character instead of an Asian character. And the rebuttal to that is the character is white in the source material. That's, what do you have a problem with? The counter argument here isn't, he can't be white. There's just a very reasonable claim coming from the community that says, as an Asian American, I feel overlooked in media a lot of the time. And in fact, the character of Iron Fist really matches up well. It stacks on top of my struggles as an Asian American in America quite well. He really correlates and speaks to that. And I saw a really great suggestion, because everyone says, Danny Rand's from Texas and he crashes in Asia. It wouldn't make... Blah, blah, blah. What if he was a Japanese American living in Texas and then he crashed in Asia and then became Iron Fist and came back to America? That would have been fine. And I'm going to say that would have been better for the social progress of American media. That would have definitely been a step in the right direction for social progress in American media. But I also want to just say to people involved in the internet hate factory that not making him an Asian American character, while it does say things about their goals on a social progress standpoint, doesn't make it a bad film. You can say that this film objectively misstepped and played towards the Eurocentrism of American media. But that doesn't immediately invalidate it as a film of quality, or a show of quality. And I think you can say that there can be bad things with a good product. There can be terrible features to a good product. So yeah, Ghost in the Shell could blow it out of the water. It could gross a ton of money. The action could line up. The characters are perfectly true to the source material. And it will never be able to escape the fact that it whitewashed the main character. That's just going to be a mark on this movie they're going to have to deal with. And as a studio, they decided, we're going to take that hit and we're going to go forward with it. So that's what I'm going to say. It's not a good thing to do. If you're saying I prefer that she's white, then you're definitely on that end of the spectrum where, hey, hang on, you need to reevaluate where you're coming from.
Sure. I agree with you, Dan. And look, here's the thing. It's perfectly healthy for us to argue and disagree with these points, which I'm totally going to do. Because I'm really just not buying it. Like, the thing is this. It's crazy to me. There's a lot going on. I want to talk about something that happened, and we're going to go a little over the hour here because I want to get into this. If this is a good conversation, I really want to talk about it.
We also have a couple questions, too, so we should get to those.
Yeah, we should get those. Yeah, Thomas, what's going on, brother? I see your questions. I see the sentiment behind them. And LJ, I see you, too. You see the picture extras. Look, there's multiple issues going on here. This is one thing we need to be real about. Like, the Hollywood formula of grabbing a bankable actor. Like, look, is it kind of bullshit? Yeah. But if you're putting up $150 million and you're a business and you know certain actors or actresses are more bankable, it makes sense. I'm not putting $150 million up. You know what I mean? So, like, how can I sit here and be like, well, you shouldn't do that. You should give this Asian American a shot and then lose $150 million? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
If somebody is dumping gallons of oil into the ocean, I'm not going to say, well, I'm not an oil company CEO, so I don't know anything about that, so I'm not going to lay judgment on that. I don't have to be a helicopter pilot. I don't have to be a helicopter pilot to see one in a tree and say someone fucked up. You know what I mean?
True. No, for sure. But what I'm saying is that does that formula? I'm telling you both sides. Does that formula need to change? Yes. But is that formula understandable when you're putting that kind of money on the line? Yes, it makes sense. We as audience members need to go support. We need to put our money where our mouth is. If you really care about this sort of stuff, go see these other movies when they get released. Go voice your opinions to the studio on social media or whatever and say that I want this to happen. I will put my money where my mouth is and support this property if you do this and this and this. But that's not what people do. That's not what they do. They just sit back and bitch. And that's
by boycotting the movie, that's exactly what they're doing. They're using their money to vote by not seeing that movie. And they're saying that your decision of banking on a white actress to play this Japanese role is enough of an issue for me that I'm not going to see this film. And I think that's totally fine. And I think people are free to tell other people, hey, you shouldn't see this film. Here's why I think so. And then those people can make their decision. So
that's true.
The group of people that say, go ahead.
This is something I want to speak on because this is an issue that actually I go back and forth on, but I want to talk about the social justice warrior problem in comic books. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I got some very interesting insight when I did a couple videos on YouTube talking about Marvel Comics, the social justice warrior problem, essentially the diversity that they've put into these books. And a really interesting point was that I had people of different races comment on the video and say, basically the point they are making is that by white Americans saying this is a problem and this needs to change, like that, for instance, these characters should be more diverse and we need to change them, you are essentially validating the fact that by having a white hero, it causes a racial problem. You're essentially creating a problem that isn't even there. I had a lot of people from Mexico and Puerto Rico to comment on that video and tell me specifically, this is real shit. They literally told me, well, we don't even think about it that way because they're fictional characters. So for you to say that they need to change because it's putting out this weird idea of supremacy or saviors in society, that's not really happening. But the moment you say that that's what's happening and you need to fix it, you basically are admitting that that's the way you saw it, which is crazy because these other people don't have that issue. It's like the Washington Redskins thing, right? So everybody wants to change the name of the Washington Redskins. You know who doesn't give a shit about the name of the Washington Redskins?
If you were about
Native
to say
Americans.
that Native Americans don't give a shit about the team name, you are extremely ignorant on that issue. Native Americans very much care that there's a team that uses a racially charged term for their team.
Statistically, due to polling, and there's problems with polling, but is a very small percentage, a vocal minority of people that care about that name in that community. That's just that is the way that I understand it. I'm open to being wrong, but I've looked at the polls and it's just not there. They don't care. Who cares? Us, liberal America. That's who cares. And it belittles it basically makes the issue a bigger issue by us wanting to say that it's not right. It's not socially correct. But I feel like we're not letting Justin speak. So I want to know, Justin, what do you think about this whole issue and some of the points that Dan and I have brought up?
I thought Dan was very convincing. I really did think Dan was very convincing. Because I want to go back. I know we go back to Iron Fist a lot, but I want to go back to Iron Fist. And we have the argument that, Iron Fist was okay for doing what it did because Danny Rand was a white American character, and that's just the way he was. So to immediately do a turn and say, hey, it's okay for Ghost in the Shell to do what it's doing, despite the fact that the main character is marketed as a Japanese American.
Right.
You can't have both. You really, really can't have both.
Excellent.
So you
point,
need
Justin.
to make up your mind. You need to say,
I don't know if
us
that's true.
I think it's true. If you want things to stay true to the source material, and that is your goal, and that is what you want, then if you are okay with Danny Rand being white, you should be mad that Motoko Kusanagi is white.
Sure, but the most important thing that you're saying there is the presupposing. The first part of your statement is if you want it to be straight from the source material. And I agree with that. But that is actually not what I personally want. I want thematically, maybe...
Oh, I'm not saying that's what you want. I'm saying if people are using that as their core argument, and that is what they want, you don't get to... You become a hypocrite if you decide that Ghost in the Shell isn't really a big deal. And if source material is king, if source material is what you want at the top, then you basically just need to recognize that that's an issue.
Sure.
That's just the way I see it.
Sure. Interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. I think that whitewashing definitely exists. There's all sorts of examples of it out there. Like the one that really pops into my mind is the Prince of Persia with Jake Gyllenhaal. Like that.
Oh my God! Awful.
That to me is but that to me it's not only whitewashing. It's just it doesn't make sense. Like I'm a context guy, as you can kind of see where I'm going with this. But at the same time, like that's clearly just total whitewashing. But the last point I want to make, and then we'll all sign off. Or Dan, I know you got counter arguments, so I'm gonna let you get in on it. But the last thing I'll say is that I think it kind of belittles the fact that we have a female lead, a woman in Hollywood that is starting to change one of the paradigms, and because she's white, a whole community of people that should probably be in her corner are not. And that to me is kind of upsetting because I just think that it's super easy to just cry whitewashing and say that it's unjust and ignore some of the ground that they might be potentially breaking in a world that is, frankly, full of injustices, and that's just reality. But Dan, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. Hit me with that. Hit me with that good stuff.
Well, I'm just gonna say, and I'll go right off of that. You want, hang on. So yeah, we want a contextual basis for, our opinion. In any case, you always want to look at the context. And man, sorry, I'm just having a hard. Can you repeat what you just said? I'm having a hard time getting my train of thought back together.
Oh no, it's all good. I was just making the point that ScarJo, being a woman in Hong.
Right. Okay, she's a woman. That's my point. Was since it's the. Are you still there, Josh? You froze up on my Skype call.
Yeah, he froze up on mine too.
Okay, hang on one second. We have a quick technical issue. Just 1 second. We're gonna deal with this, and then we will get back to this conversation because it's very interesting. Give me 1 second here. All right, everyone, we are back. Josh's computer just hiccuped, so he's going to fire that back up, and he'll probably drop in any second. But I'll just go ahead with the point I was making. This movie is Ghost in the Shell. The main character, there was no chance of her being a man. So having the main character be a female in the... having the main character be a woman in the Ghost in the Shell movie wasn't exactly like a stride forward, because it was always going to be a woman cast in that role. Then the only real decision is which woman, and if you're going for a socially progressive standpoint, they made the wrong choice because they whitewashed the Japanese character. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, you've been very, very convincing, Dan. I think I am still going to see the movie just because I want the properties to succeed, but I am going to, at the same time, say that it's a problem. Yeah. I know that's kind of counterintuitive because it's not me voting with my money that I want this issue to be resolved, and it kind of just makes it like I'm not doing anything because...
Well, I mean, you know, right here in real time, we have an example of our privilege, right? That we're going to go see this movie and have it in our mind that it's an issue, but it doesn't really affect us in any way. One more counterpoint I guess I want to bring up, because I make videos and little vlogs and stuff about social justice from time to time. So one more, we got Josh back in the call. Excellent. Welcome back, Josh.
But are we streaming, though? That's the thing. Are we still streaming?
Oh, yeah, we never stopped streaming.
Yeah, we never
You just dropped out of my Skype call.
You just dropped out. But Dan,
maybe on Facebook, though, because you were running the Facebook stream.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm saying.
Let's see.
Not sure here.
But Dan,
maybe on Facebook, though, because you were running the Facebook stream.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We might still be live.
The video for me on Facebook doesn't say that it's a video. It still says you're watching a live video.
Okay, no, I think we're good. That's so weird. My computer
I'm just
literally
seeing a black.
shut down.
I'm seeing a black screen though.
Oh, okay. It's probably about to drop into.
No, it's up.
It's good. All right. Well, it
should be up.
Look,
it was probably screwy for. Yeah, it was probably screwy for people at the end, and they might have checked out, which sucks because we were getting really good content there. But, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
Dan, repeat your point.
Repeat your point because I didn't get to hear it.
So the thing you brought up was that we should be celebrating the fact that the woman has a lead role in this movie, and that's great. And it is great, but I'll hit you again with your context. The movie Ghost in the Shell, there was never a threat of the main character being cast as a man. The main character is a woman, so it was always going to be a woman playing the general. And we just
How bad would people have been if they did that? Though?
that would be very untrue. They would have to be a reimagining of Ghost in the Shell for them to do that.
Yeah.
At this point, I think, it was always going to be a woman. So the question was, which women are we going to cast? And they had several factors influence that decision. One was the money aspect. One was the social progressive aspect. And they went with the money aspect and went for a well-known... And I hate this paradigm that we seem to be selling, that there are no bankable Japanese actresses, because that's not true. But
Well, I mean, show me one on the American cinema. I just don't.
Yeah, it's obviously in America it's not as
tough, bro.
fire.
You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
So the people in Mexico not thinking that it's a deal for whitewashing come from a different cultural background, because if you're a Mexican in Mexico, you're part of the majority, and so
Sure.
you do grow up in Mexican media. You see pictures of yourself in magazines and on TV and those sorts of things. Whereas if you're an Asian American or Latino American, you're not growing up with the same density of people who look like you in media, on TV, and in magazines. You see a vast majority of white people. White people are touted as like the picture of beauty and the picture of health and da-da-da-da. And so it's completely reasonable. Absolutely. In fact, I think they're in the right, personally, to say now is the time to focus on, I want equal representation in media. Let's get me into media here. And I think any step that people take away from that direction is a step in the wrong direction. I'm not saying there can't be white people in movies. That's ridiculous. That would be racist on the other side. But
Right.
we don't need to turn Asian characters into white characters. That's what I'm going to say.
Yep. I got you. Look, I think that it's just, and beautiful ability for us to have different opinions about this thing. You know what I mean? I think that's perfectly fine, and we're allowed to disagree. I mean, that's just one of the great things about America and the internet, right? I guess it's that we're allowed to disagree. For me personally, I just live in this camp, and because it's weird, like what I was saying with the social justice thing, is I was actually on the liberal side of that argument. I was 1,000%. I was on the liberal side of that argument, and then when I put the content out there that was very left, and I got a bunch of people coming at me and trying to like explain to me in a way that really did make sense why this was an issue, I'm just not so stuck on one side or the other that I'm like, no, you're wrong. This is the way that it should be. Like, I do feel as though there is a lot of stuff in society in general right now that is like, they're just.
Oh no!
His computer shut off again. So, you know what? Let's just end it there.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. I guess it looks like
Yeah.
because we're not sure if Josh is gonna jump back in so quick. But thanks for joining us for the Nerdy News Hour and change this time. I'm Anime Dan.
I'm Justin, and the person you probably see frozen on Skype is Josh. And if you guys like this, make sure to like our Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel going on right now that you guys can go ahead and hop in on and comment. And I'm sure we'll get some of the stuff addressed. I know some of you wanted to see like Josh finish his point and all that, but if he's having computer issues, we're unfortunately going to have to go ahead and stop right there. I'm sure he can respond on the actual post as himself,
he'll
and let you
definitely
guys
be in
know
there.
what he was going to say. So Josh, go ahead and hit you up there. If you like what we're seeing, follow us on YouTube, follow us on the Facebook. You can hit Dan up on Twitter at anime_Dan, and he also has a YouTube channel. And you can hit me up on Twitter at Emperor_Justin. And we got a lot of content coming for you guys in the next couple weeks, and we hope that you will all be a part of it. So this is the Den of Nerds signing off.
We'll see you next Thursday.